You guys are on live on the Two versus Brother podcast. As you see here in front of you, you got three handsome gentlemen in front of you. We have Sexy Lexi, first time joining us on the podcast. Alfredo the Sauce, Pedro the Bad Guy. What are we going to talk about today, gentlemen?
I think we're going to talk a little bit of a way too early Guru League mock.
Lexi, you have your podcast, Fantasy Cookies, correct?
That's correct, the Fantasy Cookies podcast.
All right, and I want to put it in perspective, everybody. We are 107 days away at this moment of we are recording this till the preseason starts. All right, that's when everything starts rolling. Everybody's head starts focusing on fantasy football. All right, Alfredo, how you feel about that?
Bro, I'm loving it. And let me tell you this, Pedro. I think already from now, people are already thinking about fantasy football because the draft is right around the corner. Rosters are already being finalized. You know, right now is that time that people are starting. And let me tell you, our league, the Fantasy Football Guru League, I can say that is the best league in the world. We have 2 podcasts right now that are here in this episode today. You know, and then there'll be another member that will have a podcast. So the whole world of YouTube will be able to know about our league, man. So, Cookies, it's a pleasure having you here. You know, for someone, and as you see there in your shirt, you love football. Tell the audience about your football passion.
Oh, I love football. First of all, thank you very much, Pedro and Alfredo, for having me on the Two versus Brother podcast. It's also very inspirational. You guys pushed me knowing that I wanted to do it, and you guys beat me to it. So I love that we're fostering this type of league and community. And I can't wait. I can't believe that we're going to have 4 members of the leagues analyzing fantasy football and contributing and be willing to put up their own strategy for the league to see and possibly counter. I feel like it's leveling up our game because we're making it harder for ourselves. We're going expert mode, legendary mode on the as they say, the hard settings, the difficulty settings. So once again, thank you for having me on. I've loved fantasy football. Been doing it for over 15 years.
Wow.
Typically anywhere from 3 to 5 leagues a year. And it's just because I love football, and I think it's because I'm an Eagles fan. I feel that Eagles fans are very, very we're very have our thumbs on the team, and I felt like I wanted to take my expertise to another level, and I thought that I love playing role-playing games, and to be honest with you, I think that fantasy football is the perfect role-playing game where we get to watch the true reality TV sports, and we make our guesses and prognostications. We try to act like GMs. Love it.
Yep, you do sales and everything. Yep.
And it's the execution of the bar talk. Can you imagine if this person and that person? It's you actually attacking a pool of players, putting them together on a roster, making the start-sit decisions with pressure, and seeing if you can outduel all the crap talking of all your league mates. And I love it. I love the camaraderie. I love everything that it represents. It's the closest thing that I can say brings men together outside of actual physical sports. So I got into it. I loved it. Been doing it ever since. And look, it brought me to 2 great managers and people just like yourself.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely, man. And in your case, I mean, you're an expert yourself because you've been a champion in this league. So you know, out of the 3 of us, I'm the only one who can say it's not a champion. But you guys, your case, you're a champion, and so you know what you're doing. You know your football, man. So you definitely can claim that in our league, and you know your voice has a lot of power because you have the experience, you have the expertise, and you know, and you have that passion. So
I'm glad that I have that little badge, that little chevron, because man, oh man, our crap talking in this league, if I didn't have that, especially with the fantasy finish I just had, and this is why I'm making the channel. Look, I like to experiment. This is the first time I ever took a tight end in the first round. I wanted to see if I can get that advantage with, fantasy football game 3, with you have that that high-end tight end on your roster that everyone thinks that Travis Kelce is or that Gronk was for so many years, and it backfired on me all the way to 10th place. And that's also why I wanted to do the podcast was I had my uncle actually ask me, hey, I'm trying to do something less physically intensive. I was asked by our church to be into a fantasy league. Teach me everything you know. And I kind of realized, wow, I'm that go-to guy. So let me give that experience to everybody and give them my knowledge and show them that you can be 10th and go all the way to championship, which I believe I'm going to do this year.
Hey, man, for sure. I mean, the good thing about our league that it's going to be a dynasty league this year. So the draft is very essential because you have to build your best roster. You have to maintain it and making sure that you have that. I know you mentioned to us earlier that we had an earlier episode that we were already predicting you and early mock draft rankings. So we had our basically who we think. I want to hear yours. You said that you wanted to counter to what we had. You said that we were crazy. So I want to hear your mock draft. We're going to dissect it and we're going to see, are you crazy? Are you insane? Or you're a smart man? So, man, let's roll the drums.
All right.
Let's start. And the guy, from previously is the same people. So number one is Steven. And Kokis, you can go ahead. You can run down to whenever you go. You stop. We'll question you as you go. So number one is Steven.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and give some prefaces notes. I'm basing this off of what I believe is going to happen as a trend this year, especially with running backs. Running backs are going to be a very position scarce, especially with the fact that we didn't have as many breakthrough running backs that are going to be drafted this year. It's going to be more about situations that we look for this season. So that means there aren't going to be the Bijons. There's not going to be the Gibbs of the world this season. And as you can tell from just the NFL trends, a lot of veteran running backs. This is one season removed from having the 5 top free agent running backs having a Zoom complaining about the running back market to literally 1 year later, every single running back, they basically got offered what they wanted within 1 day outside of Derrick Henry and then J.K. Dobbins waiting almost 3 weeks later. So
Yep.
I'm basing a lot more running back movement in my mock draft during the first round. So if you see some names, you're going to see, I'm just prefacing why I believe this. I believe that running backs are going to be the real scarce position. And even though we're starting a PPR keeper league this year, I still think that because we are kind of a step ahead, we're going to go for that position scarcity. So, unfortunately, that won't matter for the first pick because that first pick is going to be CeeDee Lamb. I understand exactly why he's doing it. It's one of the top 3 when you think about the wide receivers, and I don't blame Steven for it. I mean, the year before, he went wide receiver first round as well. So, it's within his wheelhouse, and I think he's going to do it. And then his arch nemesis, the betrayed, is our pick number 2. And I love Danny. You know I love Danny. He's one of my favorite managers, but I think he's a glutton for punishment, and I think he's going to go CMC again. I think that he's going to go CMC and try to show the league because it's not only a flex, and it's number 1 overall, even on PPR when I look at Fantasy Wizards, Fantasy Calculator, Underdog. CMC is still looked at as a top 3 choice in all formats. So I'm gonna give him his respect, and I feel that bill would be taken by Danny because if he wins with CMC, oof.
Now let me ask you, Kokis, CMC. I'm gonna dissect here. Now you know that he's going up there in age, and this is a dynasty. I know it's a 2-year. Do you think that can contribute to a factor? Do you?
No. It's more of the conditioning and the type of player that CMC is. I think that he's gonna be, even when he starts to fall off, he'll still be a running back too. I just don't think it's that time. He is one of those unicorn running backs, kind of like the Frank Gore and the Adrian Petersons. I think it's because of his conditioning and his genetics, his where he comes from as a family, that he understands how to train and get ready and physically, mentally, and everything, the whole package, every season. I think that he'll know if he can't give it the 100%, and that 100% is at the elite level that his father really trained him to be. So I don't think there'll be a huge fall off. I'm waiting probably a year or two from now. Like next year, I might have these thoughts creep in. But as of right now, especially with all the Brandon Ayuk talk that he might not be on the team, he might be relied on even more, especially with a lot of pieces leaving on the defense. So
Okay, very good. Okay, so
I have a question. You don't think that his usage basically the last year that he basically got run to the ground is something that that Danny in this case that will be picking him in your mock has to worry about, because we've seen it in the past that whenever there's a consensus number one running back, that 1 year, the next year is always a fall off.
Yeah, it'd be injury. To me, it's an injury thing. Just like AP. AP did it 3 years in a row. If you really think about it, the 1 year that he did get knocked off was an injury year. So that's why I think it's injury related more than anything, and that he does have that tendency. We do have 2 years completely washed from when he was at Carolina. So I do believe it's possible, and yes, he does have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. But I'd be more worried because he's more of an elusive back. He isn't the type of, here, let me drop my shoulder and drive my head through your chest pads. That's Derrick Henry. I'm more worried about Derrick Henry this year, which shows so far in the ADP, because he's going to end of second round and mid third round because of that. Because he is let me run it right down the middle, wear you down, especially that he's moving from Tennessee to an even colder area and a more competitive division where they will be using that smash mouth technique. I believe this may be the year where Derrick Henry may fall down a little bit.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's do number 3.
So, number 3, we have Alfredo going with the Chase man. I already know that you're going to be picking Jamar Chase, which is a top 3 pick. He's a top 3 receiver, and I would go with it too. It'll be a stalwart on your roster that you'd be able to depend on. Hopefully, the only thing you need to make sure is that that Joe, that Burrow is healthy. He killed me last year with T. Higgins. I'm trying to forget that season last year and throw it away, but it was so cool.
Yeah.
But I'm going with that just because it's a good pick in the top 5, and we can move on because this is where it gets interesting. This is where it really gets interesting because there's going to be a lot of ifs, but I think we're going with JJ. The Jettas is going to go off early. Everyone's talking a lot of stuff, but we're forgetting that camp is going to come and videos are going to show and people are going to remember, oh, yeah, this is that guy. He can be the guy that elevates a quarterback. This is that type of player. Mm-hmm. And I think people will get back to their senses, and you'll see that Justin Jefferson goes off at 4. Now, this is where it gets crazy because I believe John, KMA, the 2-time champion with an asterisk, this is where it gets interesting. Because I actually do think John wants to spite Franklin. I think he wants to spite Franklin. I think that this talk is not smoke. I think there's a lot of smoke, and where there's a lot of smoke, I think there is fire, and I think he's gonna pick up Bijon Robinson. Like I said, I think this is gonna create a ripple effect because I think that Franklin is throwing smoke to try to be like, no, I don't want Bijon. I think he wants Bijon, and I think John's going to take it from him because it's a good idea. Because do you want Hill or Bijon? Because now you're going to A.J. Brown and the false god territory.
Or St. Brown.
Exactly. So, but do you think that St. Brown is that tier above? Because we know what tiers are. is he that tier? Is he that S tier? Because we're talking top 6. When you're drafting, you're trying to draft that. I think the outcome of this player is going to be a top 5.
Well, I'll put this. I'm gonna put the pressure on Pedro. Pedro picked St. Brown in his mock draft number 4. So Pedro, answer to that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I believe that Amon-Ra St. Brown is a very consistent player. Last year, if you saw his numbers every game, he was pretty much consistent. And if you look at the games, the offense pretty much flows through him. If it's not running the ball, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. And there's no one else on that team that does anything besides. Yeah, but besides the.
But yeah, I would give. I don't think he's at that level yet. I think Laporta gets to benefit from the running game and the ability that the secondary has to respect both wide receivers. We're going to see Jameson really come into his own this year, and I don't expect him to be. I expect him to be a number 2. But typically, when you have that type of offense that's electric like that, where you have to worry about all 3 facets, whether that's the wide receivers, the tight end, and the running backs, and that's both running backs. They do have the actual legitimate lightning and thunder technique that works in the NFL right now. So I'm not mad at the pick. It's just that you have to remember, I believe that St. Brown is an awesome PPR high floor player. And that's what you're going with. You're not going with the guy that might win you the week. He's the one that gave you the cushion. So when your running back 2 only gives you 7 points and he pulled the 18, that's not a number 1, but it might be the number 7. And it helps you out. Yeah, it's a consistency. He's a consistency player, whereas, like we're going to talk about the next player, which is I think that Franklin's going to go with Hall. And Hall is going to be what we call the swing for the fences or the boomer bust type player. I think that they're going to try to utilize him a lot more this year. I think his floor is going to go up. And I think that's why, like I said, the running back position will be very popular because of the scarcity. And Franklin will come to his senses. And he was going to do a running back. So I think he's going to pull the tag on the Hall because his hype, I think, is going to go through the roof by the end of August. So I think that he's going to pick up Hall. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm doing this because right now it's a consensus that Hall's going to be there. And I believe that the Jets are on the draft in 2 days, and I can't wait. I think they're going to go O-line. I think they're not going to play around. They're not going to sit there and pick up a tight end when they have skill positions. They just paid Mike Williams. You just sat there and you saw what Wilson can do with no quarterback. I mean, no quarterback, and he was a top 12 receiver. It's just insane. So to imagine those weapons and availability, I can imagine the type they're going to be protecting as much as they can.
Aaron Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers, man, and I think that Hall is going to be that tool. He spent $53 million on that roster this free agency.
Yeah, you have to.
It's all dependent on that. If they don't pick him up an offensive line, I can see him going with Hill. I can see because that was y'all's biggest mistake. You're telling me in a league located in Miami-Dade that Hill would pass up 10 picks?
Hey,
that's why I say to Pedro, because
Pedro, you got a lot of explaining to do.
That was his mock draft.
As my mock draft on that one. I remember Hill's an electric player, and I've said it multiple times, and I'll defend it to the end of time. But when you're going into a league year where the past 2 league years he's limped to the finish line, you have to take that into account because he's getting older. Now right now, if I remember correctly, he's 30 years old. They don't get better with age. They get worse with age. But at the end of the day, Hill's 90% is still better than most people's 100. So,
and that's why I kind of fight against it. And it's not only it's not the player evaluation or his actual stats. It's that we live in Miami. I apologize, but there's always bias. It's hard. You know how hard it's going to be for me these first rounds because I love the Eagles. And I myself know I want Jalen Hurts. I do. I always do. He is a top 3 quarterback all the time. But at the second round is a steep price. I didn't do it last year, even though I wanted to. But I told you I wanted to experiment. I wanted to try in
The
half
tight end.
PPR. I wanted to see the tight end and stack number 2s to see if I can get that real good floor. And it never came through. Joe hurt me with T. Higgins. Devontae Smith was gone the first 6 weeks of the year because guess what? A.J. Brown was going off breaking the record, getting a touchdown and 125 yards every single game. And then guess what? It flipped. And that's the thing about football. It's not about consistencies. It's these waves that come. Remember what happened with Dak last year?
Yep.
It
Dak
was
was
a
struggling
schedule.
earlier, and then he blew up. Yep.
Trust in
Yeah, so
Dak turned into no trust in Dak, and then later on in the season, he was the best.
The
Basically.
heat on a heater. Trust me.
Yeah, you guys are Cowboys. Your Eagles felt that. So who
Hey,
do you
look.
have number 7?
Number 7, we have Andy. I think because Hill slips down, this is where Hill gets picked up. I think that Andy likes the big names. He likes people that he know have a track record of being good players. I think he said that to me when we were working and talking about trades, that he loves big names because it's right. Big names, sometimes you want that track record. He wants stability. He likes high floor players, so I think he takes Hill. Now, you know what's going to happen here. It's me right after. If I can't get, like, this is going to be a real struggle for me. It really is. Because for all that crap talking at number 4, at 8, I would take the false guy. That's where it is the next tier of wide receiver. And like I said, I feel he has the highest floor. That's why, even though I don't believe he's worthy of a number 4 pick, I am not going to crap on your pick, Pedro. I understand why someone would, and that's because you only get one chance. You're calling your shot. You're putting your flag on that player because you don't get a pick until pick 20-something or 18. So you already know there's no way that guy's coming back to you.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about A.J. Brown. I know that this turn is filled with really good managers. I don't know Ralph, and I don't know if he's going to go off of a list. And I know that A.J. Brown's going to be high on that list. So I'm taking A.J. Brown, and then because I don't know Ralph's strategy. He's the X factor in our league and in this draft and this thing. But I think I'm going off of him looking at a top 200, and I think that St. Brown goes off next. And then we go to Pedro is next, and I think this is where he loves the 10. He's like me. When he got the number 10, I saw him small start. I'm like, crap, I'm not going to be able to give him no trade to be able to do that. Because I did that last year in 2 of my leagues. I was able to get the 12 pick and swap out my position, but I'm like, he smiled too hard.
Yeah.
Super happy when I got that 10. I was like,
Because as you can see, he doesn't care. I just want my player, and I'll pick him. So he doesn't care about the ADP. When you're on that snake position at the end, those turns, it's awesome. It's awesome. So I think
I had the 10th pick last year, and it didn't go well for me. I took Stephon Diggs and Cooper Kupp.
No, and I think that I don't know. I feel like Pedro will respect the PPR league. So instead of going running back like he normally does, I think he is gonna go running back wide receiver because he's not dumb. He knows that he has to pick a wide receiver, and being on the turn, that's literally 18 picks gone, just the same way that you're in the beginning at that first 3 spots. So
Yep.
I believe he goes wide receiver Garrett Wilson. I think that the hype is going to be so crazy that you're going to choose between the guy that, like, there's a difference between Drake London, who's going to skyrocket, because I believe these both have really great potentials. Upgrades at quarterbacks. They're the number 1 of their team. They show that they can make points even when they have garbage quarterbacks. So when these quarterbacks come in, the hype is going to be real. But I don't know why, but I think Pedro would take Wilson over London, which I would as well. Because, like I said, Aaron Rodgers, even with a limp ankle, will be probably better than 75% of the league, 80% of the league. And then Kyron Williams.
Well, that's a steal. At number 11.
So what do you think? I was putting up a smoke screen when I made my picks last time.
No. I just, like I said, I'm basing this. If we're real, it's prognostication. It's what I think the hype is gonna be at. And like I said, I feel like we're gonna start to see the real numbers when we start doing mock drafts in July and in August. We're gonna start to see, holy crap, when I'm in my seventh, because we're just doing these first two rounds. But when we start to look at least I've been doing a couple mock drafts, there are no running backs that I like past the fifth round. Like none. Like they're all the same. It's just question mark. And like I said, there's not a big treasure trove of running backs being injected into the NFL this year. Once again, the only thing that you're really looking at is Dallas. Who's Dallas going to pick up? And is it on day 3 or day 4? Because if it's day 4, that's still not good. Still not good. So, and what other situation? Maybe the Chargers, because they got the Baltimore Chargers with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards with that knee, that Frankenstein knee. Like, bro, there's no way they can. They've never, even those two tandem, have never been able to complete an NFL season completely. Both of them never have been able to complete a full season healthy. So those are the two main situations that we really have to take a look at, and what days they pick running backs, because that they're going to pick running backs. So like I said, this is all based on that. So I feel like the stuff will come out, and Kyron Williams really did good. If you look at it looks like they put him in that Todd Gurley role. And once again, if I wasn't picking wide receiver, I'm going to tell you, because there's no point in hiding it anymore. We got podcasts. I'm probably going to go 0 RB. I am. I think I'm going to go 0 RB because I want Saquon. I don't think I'm going to get him, because that's the only other person that I think will get debated. And I didn't know whether he was going to take Saquon or if it was going to be Kyron. But remember, I don't know the type of hype trains that are going to be coming during the season, because I can understand. My pause for concern is, guess what? Everybody's like, oh, Kellen Moore. Well, guess what? Kellen Moore wasn't great for Ezekiel Elliott. He was only good for Pollard. So that's great because Saquon might catch more, but where's the real value in your running back? Yeah. Do you want your first running back you want him to be the bell cow? And I just don't know in Kellen Moore's offense if Saquon's really going to be that. I think he's going to be a smokescreen that gets a bunch of dump-off passes in the RPO. That's what I think he's going to do a lot of, which brings value because we're going to start being a PPR league, but how much when you got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert at your feet as well. This is I love that we picked up Saquon, but as a fantasy football analyst and I love picking up Eagles, I hate it because really I think the best value in the whole entire team is Hurts because he's the only one winning.
Yeah. Okay. Either way, he's the only one winning. You're right.
So go on to number 12. So who we have at 12?
Saquon with my sad face next to that because I'm not going to be able to choose him. I think he's going to get swapped up before my pick. And then because of that, I'm going Gibbs. Okay. I'm going Gibbs. And I'll let you know, if someone picks up A.J. Brown before me, this is my dilemma. If no one picks up the false god before A.J. Brown, I'm going to have a dilemma because I'm going to want Saquon. If I get the false god, I'm not going to go Gibbs and St. Brown on my first 2 rounds. I want a running back. I want a wide receiver. I think that I don't know. I really want to do 0 RB, but I think that I won't be able to. No. Not in this league.
Gibbs might be the last one in the, after Gibbs, I think there's a big drop-off in running backs.
That's why I grab him. Because I'm with you on that. This is a high floor pick. Just like he is when they can't get the ground game running, he is the pass catching back. And he's electric. That he can make he doesn't make the home run, but he rips off he can make the 20-yard, 40-yard rips.
Yeah, he can. And that's what you need sometimes. As an RB1, he'll be in his second year. So I think he's potentially can break out, for that year. So who do you have at number 14?
And believe it or not, I think that Deeds will recognize this also, that there's not that really thing. And he actually did last year and the year before go wide receiver, wide receiver. I made some notes of what the past managers had done the year before. So here I'm calling that Deeds goes with Adams.
Oh.
If Rashee Rice wasn't in the big trouble, he would have pulled the trigger on him. Because he would have been the biggest hype coming out of the Chiefs, the Kansas City, because they're trying to preserve Travis Kelce. You saw what he did at the end of the year. He's a good receiver, but it's got to be at least 2-4 games minimum. Probably he's going to get. But is it going to be an Alvin Kamara situation? Is this something that's not going to come to fruition this upcoming season? Is it going to be something that affects next season?
But it's interesting your pick of Adams, man, because Adams is 31 years old, questionable quarterback situation. Is it because we're starting seeing now the real drop off in the fantasy, like in the rankings of players? Or
no,
who else is available? No. I mean, that's kind of
you got London. You still have London. You still have DeeBo Samuels. But what the thing is with, like I said, this is also an important thing. That's probably stuff that we're going to harp on our podcast during the offseason is know your league. And like I said, Andy gave me a big tidbit, and I looked at his roster from last year. He likes big names on his roster.
Yeah.
And Adams is a big name. And till this day, I understand, and this is another thing, the production's been there. He was the number one target on that team. And if you do get, do you think that a new rookie might be an upgrade from last year's situation at quarterback?
No.
I think it might be the same. And if it's the same, it's still number one. And he always has a possibility for multi-touchdown seasons because he is who he is. He's a great route runner. He's got the big body to do the contested catches. So I believe that anyone that comes in there will know, just like anyone, everywhere else. If Kyler Murray gets traded outside of the Cardinals to the Vikings, whatever quarterback that comes in is still going to be thrown to Marvis Harrison Jr. when they get him on Malik Neighbors. They're number ones. He's a number one wide receiver profile. He hasn't fallen off. He still has his steps. And unlike Tyreek Hill, which is the big difference, he has the route running trick. Remember, Tyreek Hill is a one-trick pony. He breaks defenses because he is fast. He is the fastest person with pads. That breaks a defense. It doesn't matter. And this is why I still have him high, because he can. But when he is not hurt at any point in the game, he can just rip off a bomb. And there's not that many players in the NFL that can do that. And until you prove me otherwise that used to be Cup. He was a great route runner, a tactician of being able to read zones. But his legs are starting to fail him, just like Julio Jones. Soft tissue damages are so much worse than being able to manage a knee that inflames once in a while. Those things are all different. So I just feel that Deeds, if he doesn't, like I said, if there is no problem with Rashee Rice and they say nothing's going to happen this year, it could be a reach for Rashee Rice here.
Okay.
So like I said, then I have Franklin, who will be mad about what John did. Okay? So you know what this means? He's going to be willing to take the shot at Drake London at this spot.
Nice. So he'll have somebody from Atlanta close to him.
Yes, and this is what I think could happen. And this is, once again, this is if he doesn't have the choice to his receivers, because JJ and Chase, I don't think he'll go for the false god, and I don't think he'll do A.J. Brown 2 years in a row, especially that high of a pick. So that's why I went with the Hall and with him getting London. Now, hey, maybe Deeds gets London. You get what I'm saying? Then I really don't know where Frank's going to go. I feel like he's going to scramble. I feel like 4, 5, 6, and 7 are really bad positions for a 10-man league. I looked at a lot of the mock drafts, and at least from what I'm seeing now. But then after Franklin, we got John, and I think he goes for DeeBo Samuel. I think he sees what's available, and there's Puka still out there, and I feel like that John goes for, like I said, kind of like Andy, but he goes for the big name. And like I said, if Brandon Ayuk gets traded, which I think will happen, because I don't think they're going to pay him. I don't think they're going to pay him.
Yeah, so then he'll be the undisputed number one receiver for San Francisco. So
exactly. This is, like I said, this is why I said I'm really hoping that Brandon Ayuk does go, because it will bring so much. It'll actually elevate all three of those players. It'll elevate Kittle. It'll elevate DeeBo Samuel. It'll elevate CMC and Brandon Ayuk, because whoever trades for him is obviously going to make him the focus of their wide receiving core. So I believe he gets picked up before Anuka. And this is where we get the QB run. Because in reality, QBs always go in the second round. Everyone tries to mock around them. So right here, I think there's a run. I think Alex and Fredo. I think Alex takes Hurts, and then Fredo takes Allen.
Oh, wow. Josh Allen. Hey, I would love to do that to Jonathan. Jonathan has killed me the last 2 years with Josh Allen. So, but okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
So I think you're gonna look at it and see if you look at what it is. Imagine having Chase and Allen. The possibility of having these in the capability of having top three, seasons at their position, and if you hit on both.
I'm already having a heart attack. I'm already ready to faint, bro. I want to start already. Just by having those, I'm like so excited. Josh Allen and Jamar Chase. That's like my man crush. Both of them.
And then after that, I have Danny picking up Puka Nuka, but highly considered Laporta at this position at the 19th spot, because, like I said, I don't think Kelsey. I think that they're gonna manage Kelsey the same exact way they did last year. Waited until the end of the year to kind of really bring him in, and then on the playoffs unleash him. It worked for them. They got a championship. There's no reason why not. You no longer have to reach for wide receivers, because you know that Patrick Mahomes is more than capable. He is a Brady. He is a Manning. He elevates the core that he has. He doesn't need the make or break. Hill was not a chicken or the egg situation. It is Mahomes has the skill. He's the man. He's got the golden arm, and that's it. So that's why I said if Rashee Rice's situation changes, you have to understand that he is going to be up there in this echelon of the second round, where you're going to start to be like, Nuka, DeeBo, that middle second round turn is really going to have fun with these wide receivers. But like I said, I think that I was going to put Laporta in, but I just don't know. I don't know if there's just a tight end to reach for this year. I think, just like me, I got burned so hard with Travis Kelce. I don't think I'm ever going to do a tight end again above the sixth round.
And I think the reason why you did it is because the previous year there was a really, really bad year for tight end.
Huge gap. And it was a huge gap where the second, the person who came in second was like 60 fantasy points. That's why I thought it was a huge game theory thing where position scarcity, get the shining star that no one can grab. Only one person gets him in the league.
Exactly.
And it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. And Joe Burrow too. I mean, Joe Burrow screwed me. I had Justin Fields, Joe Burrow. Yeah, it was harsh. It was harsh, but it's okay. I went out of my comfort zone in this league, but I feel like this is the most competitive league now. I'm pulling all my as many possible tricks as I possibly can. But yeah, and then we're gonna end it with Steven going ETN, because, like I said, it starts to get really, really ugly. Just like you said, after the third round, so he's the last workhorse running back. Technically.
Yeah, wow.
So I think he goes for him, and then I was gonna do the deck, but I don't think he'll pull the deck. I think he'll go wide receiver, then running back, wide receiver.
Okay. So We have the 20 picks. I'm gonna recap. I'm gonna read them the names: CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Jetta, Bijon Robinson, Brees Hall, Tyreek, AJ Brown, Amon St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Kyron Williams. Well, those were the first round. Now the second round: Kyron Williams, Barkley, Gibbs, Devontae Adams, Drake London, DeeBo Samuel, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Puka Nacua, and Travis Etienne. Awesome, man. Very, very good. Definitely, once we put this in the league, I know a lot of people will give their comments, what they have to say. They'll probably get to criticize it. Um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. So just to
Definitely.
hopefully this comes.
You and we both. To be honest with you. So, hey guys, I mean, have you liked the new rule changes? So I got to ask you a couple questions, guys.
Yeah.
How do you guys like the new rule change where we're going to try this keeper format for 2 years and introduce the PPR into the league?
Oh, I'll take that. The PPR, I am actually excited about that because that adds a different element to the game that you really have to take into account when you're drafting, when you're picking up players on the waiver wire, and when you're preparing for games. Because there are situations where a defense gives up a lot of catches to wide receiver twos, and now you know what, wide receiver two for the Atlanta Falcons. I gotta go get that guy. That makes a lot of sense. And on top of the keeper league, I've usually only done redraft leagues every year, so I'm gonna specifically try my best to get players. At least me, I'm gonna expose it. I'm gonna get players that I know are gonna be good for those 2 years, especially in the first few rounds.
Okay.
Yeah, myself as well. It changes your strategy, or the draft strategy, completely, because in the case of PPR, you are getting, you have to look at it differently. It's not, not consistent. At least my strategy is I want to go with someone that will be consistent. I'll have that advantage with someone who gets a lot of reception. As for the dynasty type, also as well, because it's not short term. Now you have to think about long term. Is this the guy that I want to spend with for 2 years? Is this the guy that will make it happen to me? And also making sure that I have the right guy to make sure that nobody else gets.
Get some, yeah.
So that's my strategy. You have to look at the entire team as well. Maybe even look ahead, like in the case of a wide receiver. If you're going to look at a wide receiver, but his quarterback is a free agent the year after, maybe in my eyes, his value might drop because maybe he might have one for this year, but for the next one, no. So you have to look into the
No,
whole.
and I understand that. That's exactly why I put Deebo over Puka Nacua, was because Matthew Stafford is, I believe, his last good years, possibly this year. His shoulder and elbow, like you can see how the injuries have accumulated over his career, and typically when you have those things, you start to see the drop off on
Yep.
zipping it down. That and the fact that I believe that Cooper Kupp is going to lose a step because of his soft tissue issues. I understand why, but hey, when teams do bad, hey, they throw it a lot. So
Yep. Absolutely, man.
no, I'm excited. I really am excited. PPR is my better format to play in. But also had to ask you, do you guys love the league introducing rivalry week for week 4?
Yeah, actually, we got that. I got that notice. Yeah, rivalry week 4. I mean, obviously, there's some matchups that we all look forward to see, like Danny and Steven. Those matchups, Franklin versus KMA, which are right. Those are people
Yeah, it's
that.
getting good. It's getting really good. It's getting really good.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh man. Hopefully, we'll get to put some screenshots into these podcasts, so that way the listeners and the viewers can really get to a little taste of what goes on in the group chat.
Yes. I mean, yeah, we'll for sure we'll put some of it. And the good thing about it, and now that you mentioned about podcasts, you're having yourself a podcast, in which is called Fantasy Cookie. So you have your podcast. Tell us, the viewers, please subscribe to his channel, Fantasy Koki. What do you have to say about your channel?
Nothing. If you want to have a good time, get some laughs, some good fantasy football analytics, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'm going to be bringing some more consistent content now that I have my camera. And honestly, you're going to see a lot more of these joint interviews throughout the off season where we're going to be discussing, game theory on fantasy football. I'm going to try and do a series which is called Fantasy Franchise Feature, where we go over the last 3 years of every single team and discuss what their needs and what they consistently produced in fantasy football. And then I want to get also another episode. I'm going to try and see if we can lock down. I don't even know if you guys can try to do it. It's really elusive, but I want to interview with Ralph. We need to, just like I said in the middle of this podcast, we do need to know your league. And he's a league mate that has just been introduced. I'm not going to wait until the draft to start asking questions. We're going to need to find out if we can jump onto a crew or a intervention podcast where we're all on here and just start asking him some random questions.
Hey, man, I'm down for it. We would love to bring him on. Yeah, I know you brought up a good point there. We can probably, you can even have him on yours, or we can combine. Yeah, for sure, we'll have it.
That's what the fantasy podcast is all about. Just bringing people from my different leagues in, try to give my perspective on fantasy football analytics, get some game theory, and just have some fun doing it. Hope you enjoy my content just as much as the Two Versus Brother podcast channel, because let me tell you, it's very entertaining, especially watching the WWE. I'm not a big fan of WWE, but watching the content makes me laugh and get interested. So hopefully I can endear the same qualities to my viewers, and hope that you guys come over to the channel.
Yes, for sure. I mean, remember, follow him. We'll put his information on this episode so you guys can follow him. And Lex, like they call you, what was it, Sexy Lexi? How is it? Lexi Sexy.
Or the cookie.
Oh, look. It was a pleasure having you here, my friend. Thank you.
Anytime. And trust me, you guys are going to be invited to mine as well.
For sure. We'll be looking forward to it, man. Thank you, my friend.
Alrighty, guys. This was the episode. Now we have, as I told you, Sexy Lexi, Alfredo the Sauce, and Pedro the Bad Guy. We're gonna be discussing fantasy football, the related topics, especially when it comes to this league, all the drama, everything that goes on in this league. Well, I'll take a look and see how we can put these all the messages and stuff like that on there, so people see the type of personalities that we have on here. It's gonna be a dramedy if we're really gonna look at it like that. But I'll take a look at that. But yes, people, subscribe, like. You're gonna see a lot more of this in the future.